Hi College and Career Success, welcome to your week 4 part 1 assignment video. So I have a snapshot here on the screen of everything coming up that you need to do for this week. Of course, as always, I am going to encourage you to watch the chapter 5 and the chapter 6 lecture videos because those cover the content of this week. And we are covering 2 chapters, so please make sure that you spend some time either in the videos or the PowerPoints or the textbook itself, just so you're familiar and are prepared to be able to complete these assignments. So as we are looking at week 4, just real quickly, you have a heavy week. Once again, summer semester, kind of hopefully you're getting used to this. You will have 2 discussion forums this week, chapter 5 and chapter 6. So like you have in the past, you need to respond to both by Wednesday for your weekly attendance and then respond to 2 classmates by Sunday. You're also going to have a chapter 5 assignment, a chapter 5 quiz, a chapter 6 assignment, and a chapter 6 quiz. All of those are due Sunday as well. This video right now is just going to focus on chapter 5 materials that you need to complete for your weekly assignments, and then I'll be back with one that just talks about chapter 6, but I wanted to make sure you knew all of this was due. So let's go ahead and jump in. Chapter 5 discussion. Let's go ahead and go to the forum, and here we have our prompt. Imagine that you were given a chapter to read in your American history class about the Gettysburg Address. Write down what you already know about this historic document. How might thinking through this prior knowledge help you better understand the text? So let me clarify real quickly that you do not have to know everything about the Gettysburg Address. If you only remember a couple facts or a couple tidbits, that's okay. If you need to do a quick Google search, you can do that as well. But the meat of the question is this part right here. How might thinking through prior knowledge help you better understand the text? Because this chapter talks about reading strategies and becoming more effective with your reading and your writing and your studying and how all that is connected. And so prior knowledge is a big part of the reading process. So this is just kind of an example to get you started thinking about it. So I would recommend maybe only spending like a sentence or 2 really on what you know about the Gettysburg Address. And then the meat of what I'm looking at is how you're responding to this part. How does thinking through prior knowledge kind of in general really help you understand text material? How can you go into a new topic that you're learning that you may have been exposed to before in the past? How might prior knowledge help you understand learning something new in that field? Okay, so again, you guys are doing really well with the 150 words. So I usually have to say something to my classes, but I've noticed that you guys are really rocking it. You're right around, if not more so, on every post. So just still we're at that 150 words or more. And again, we want to post our original response by Wednesday and respond to 2 classmates by Sunday. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look now at our assignment. Chapter 5 assignment, because this is a reading chapter, you are going to have to do some reading. Now, I will tell you the link in here, you can follow it, but it asks you to sign up to continue reading it. I don't want you to mess with that. So instead, I attached the PDF of the article right down here. So your job is to pull up this PDF, and you can see it's a little dated by now, but that's not necessarily the purpose of this. It's to work with some of these concepts. You're going to read this article. It's not terribly long, a little over 3.5 pages or so. So you're going to read the article, and if you need to print it out, that's fine as well. Now, what you're going to do with it is you're going to answer these questions. So right above that is your chapter 5 assignment. It's the PDF, so you'll pull it up, and you're going to have a series of 8 questions that all go along with the article that you're reading over here. And so if you needed to kind of keep them back and forth and tab back and forth, that might be helpful. So you're going to answer these questions. I'm going to walk you through them. Just make sure you know what it's asking. What is the author's thesis? So remember, the thesis is the main idea of a multiple paragraph selection. So it's a sentence that summarizes what the article is about. So you're going to write the author's thesis, and you don't need to say the thesis is. When you write thesis statements, you just jump right in. You don't have to have that preface. So that's why I kind of started it for you. I'm not saying this is the absolute way you have to do it, but I was showing you that you don't have to say the thesis of this is. So you're going to write the thesis, and then where is it located? Is it at the beginning of the article? Is it the end of the article, in the middle, first sentence, that kind of thing? Like, where's the location? Question 2, how would you describe the author's tone and kind of what led you to that? So is the tone angry, happy, upset, critical, negative, positive? You know, how does the author feel about this? And then how do you know that? Like, what kind of words did they use, or what landed you toward that conclusion? How effective is the argument, and explain why? So the author is talking about the 7 deadly sins of students, so it kind of gives you a clue that he's going to be focusing on things that students maybe don't do very well. So how effective is his argument? And then what are the weaknesses and what are the strengths? What is he doing well, and what could he be working on? Do you agree with the author? Why or why not? If you were to write a rebuttal, so if you were to come back and be like, okay, I see what you're saying. However, have you considered this? Like, what points would you make? And then what are some of the deadly sins of teachers and professors? When you're done, you want to make sure that you save it. If it asks you to save with your changes, definitely do that. Just find a spot on your device to save it, and then you'll go back into Brightspace and just make sure you put it in your Dropbox. Okay, so that is your chapter 5 assignment. So you're kind of 2 parts, reading the article and then filling out the questions. And then finally, your chapter 5 quiz. It's going to pull up into a Word doc, hopefully like you're used to. So just a reminder, I am seeing some students not quite at the 2 to 5 sentences, or they're not answering all parts. And I know some of these questions are kind of lengthy, but the question 1, studies suggest that students today spend less time reading than in the past, but that doesn't count the amount of time that people are reading on social media. So knowing that, do you think you spend less time reading now than you did when you were younger? What kind of reading do you do on social media? Like, do you engage in reading on social media? How does this differ from the kind of reading you were required to do in college? And do you think social media has a positive or negative effect on reading for your professional academic life? So it's really having you reflect on reading and then connecting it to social media, since a lot of people spend a lot of time there. Question 2. The book explains we have all preset ideas that may reflect personal biases or prejudices. Have you ever considered how this statement might apply to you and your preset ideas, like how you believe and feel about things? Do you think these ideas could affect what you choose to read and study and how you approach your assignments? Could it impact the way you interact with classmates? And explain your past and current experiences regarding this. So thinking about just kind of the ideas that you hold, and it could be very like academic. You have certain academic ideas about a topic. You know, does that impact how you approach that topic? It could be ideas that you have about theories or concepts or approaches, whatever it might be. Question 3 in section 5.2 under allowing adequate time for reading. So I really just want to make sure that I point this out, because a lot of people get this wrong because they don't look where it's talking. So it says section 5.2 where it says adequate time for reading. So here we go, adequate time for reading. We're going to skim down just a little bit, and then you're going to see in this section some quotes from some, I'm going to get all these out of here, quotes from some notable people. You see like Thomas Jefferson, Frederick Douglass, George R.R. Martin, Harry Truman. So little quotes, like one-liner quotes. That's what it wants your attention to be drawn to. So it says, the book offers several quotes from notable names about the importance of reading. Select one of the quotes and explain what you think it means and if you agree or disagree. So maybe you really like the quote, you know, once you learn to read, you will be forever free. What do you think it means, and do you agree or disagree? Right, so that is question 3. Question 4 talks about information to take notes with Cornell system, outlining and concept mapping. Have you tried any of these? Have you used apps? What is your experience with note-taking apps? And what method seems to fit your learning preferences? Do you already use any of these? Have you tried them? What are your thoughts on it? So it's really making you reflect on note-taking. And then question 5, when you want to learn how to do something, what is your first choice? Do you read about it on like a website or a book? Do you watch a YouTube video? And why? Or maybe you do a little bit of both. Have you always done it this way, or has it changed over time? Do you think available media, meaning like YouTube and things like that, has changed your reading habits? All right, so when you're done with that, you'll save that and upload that as well. So that is your video for chapter 5 assignments. I will be back to talk about specifically the chapter 6. See you then.